This is CBC Vancouver News.
I feel like everybody's going to be in really good spirits and just be like happy to be home and see each other.
After being forced out of their homes due to a raging wildfire in northeastern BC, residents of Fort Nelson are relieved to hear weeks later they finally have the go-ahead to start returning to town. But the mayor warns the community isn't out of the woods just yet. Plus, 2 people have been confirmed dead following a plane crash in a remote area near Squamish. Now an investigation is underway to figure out what may have led to the crash. And
people who are working full times, they're reaching to food banks. They need help.
a report by Food Banks Canada reveals food insecurity is on the rise in BC. It comes as demand skyrockets and donations drop. Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. Thousands of people are set to return to Fort Nelson tomorrow, more than 2 weeks after they were displaced from their homes due to a raging wildfire just west of the town. An evacuation alert will remain in place, but it's welcome news for evacuees. Brittany Johnson and her family are cleaning their RV one last time before they pack up and get ready to head home to Fort Nelson.
I feel like everybody's going to be in really good spirits and just be like happy to be home and see each other. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Johnson is one of more than 4,500 residents of Fort Nelson in the nearby Fort Nelson First Nation who were forced to evacuate quickly on May 10th due to the out-of-control Parker Lake wildfire just west of the town. But finally, Sunday afternoon, the news many had been waiting for.
They can start making decisions to come back at 8 o'clock tomorrow. The roadblocks will come down.
Fraser says essential workers have been getting services back up and running. The hospital ER has now reopened, with some services expected to restart in the weeks to come. Johnson says many evacuees are bracing for what they will return to.
I expect to find a lot of garbage like strewn about town from the bears. I've heard that the bears have been coming into town and going through everybody's garbage at night.
The mayor says several properties in Fort Nelson were damaged by the blaze and 4 homes were destroyed. The Fort Nelson First Nation says while it didn't lose homes to the fire, areas that were culturally significant have been damaged.
A lot of burnt down trees around Parker Lake. I heard that looks pretty different now. It used to be like really pretty and you can go and take your dogs. Now you can't even access the road as far as I've heard. As
people head home, an evacuation alert will remain in place, but many are staying vigilant.
I have a feeling that we're going to be sent out again this summer. You know, it's so dry up there and there's so much forest around us that it wouldn't take much if we all got told to leave again.
Wildfire fighters say the Parker Lake fire is still out of control, and with the chance of thunderstorms and gusty winds over the next few days, concerns are still heightened.
In the areas that stay dry, we're expecting to see some trees beginning to candle, some fairly vigorous surface fire, showing that the fire still has lots of potential.
The mayor says a reception center is set up to assist returning residents in the week ahead. 2 people have been killed in a plane crash south of Squamish. Mounties say they received an automatic plane crash notification Friday evening. The alert was traced to a remote area on the outskirts of Squamish on the west side of Howe Sound. RCMP say the 2 fatalities were confirmed after police were able to access the remote area by air yesterday. So far, police have not provided details about the type of plane involved or the cause of the crash. They are now working with the Transportation Safety Board and the BC Coroner Service to figure out how the plane went down. The TSB has not yet sent investigators to the scene. A high-rise in Surrey was the site of heavy police presence this afternoon. Police in tactical gear could be seen outside the building on University Drive near 104th Avenue in central Surrey. In a statement, RCMP say it was a serious matter involving 2 people that are known to each other. It has since been resolved and there is no risk to the public. 1 person has been arrested and there were no injuries reported. For the second year in a row, BC scored a barely passing grade in its poverty report card. One of the key takeaways was a jump in food insecurity. As Michelle Gomez reports, food banks in the province say demand is skyrocketing while donations are dropping.
Manisha Prajatapi has been using the Guru Nanak Food Bank in Surrey since she arrived in Canada 6 months ago. As an international student, she says the rising cost of groceries is making it hard to get by.
Here to survive, it's very difficult here without money.
BC received a D+ grade on its 2024 poverty report card. The report, issued by Food Banks Canada, found almost 22% of British Columbians reported being food insecure, up from around 17% last year. Prajatapi says she would not be able to make ends meet without the food bank.
I don't have any job here, and due to their help, I'm still surviving here.
Neeraj Walia, who runs Guru Nanak, says demand has more than doubled over the past year, while donations have gone down by about 60%. His food bank served over 18,000 clients in the month of April alone.
We have enough, storage, and we prepare ourselves to serve the community, and always ready to help for some emergency situations like wildfire or flooding.
Walia says they are seeing more and more clients with full-time jobs.
People who working full times, they're reaching the food banks. They need help because they're out of the budget. Increasing the payments of their rent, mortgage, car loans, anything else. So they need to be getting help from the food banks.
The report card found nearly half of those surveyed feel they are doing worse financially compared to the previous year.
As more people feel the pinch, they're just not able to give as much. We have people that may have been donors who now may need to consider accessing a food bank.
And it's putting a strain on food bank operations.
Food banks are finding very creative ways to stretch their budgets. And still get food to the people that need the support. Many food banks are drawing on reserves that they have.
All provinces except 2 received a grade in the D range. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hundreds of British Columbians climbed up, down, and around the stands of BC Place as the World Wildlife Fund Canada brought its Climb for Nature event to Vancouver for the first time.
First ever BC Place Climb for Nature happened today. I'm thrilled, I'm exhausted, I did the climb. We are just delighted with how it went.
The fundraiser attracted families, nature lovers, and fitness enthusiasts to help conserve biodiversity by climbing the 3,000-step single bowl or 6,000-step double bowl. The event is an expansion of the famous CN Tower Climb for Nature, which began 32 years ago. Funds raised from the event support efforts in BC and throughout Canada to bring back nature, reverse wildlife loss, and fight climate change. In its first year, BC climbers raised more than $50,000. Sean Stevens-Whale, a tower runner and obstacle course racer from Squamish, had the fastest time of the day, completing the 3,000-step single bowl climb in 11 minutes and 23 seconds. A Vancouver woman was recognized at a Walk for Alzheimer's today for the endless hours of unpaid care she provides to her husband, who is living with dementia. As Sohrab Sandhu reports, she says support programs for early onset dementia are not good enough, and family members are often left to care for their ailing loved ones.
3, 2, 1.
Heather Sosa hopes with the cut of this ribbon, families impacted by dementia know they're not alone. Sosa's husband Kurt was diagnosed with early onset dementia at the age of 62.
One day I walked in the bedroom, my husband was on the floor sobbing, and he said to me, "I don't like how I feel."
She is among more than 50,000 caregivers in BC who provide roughly 1.3 million hours of unpaid caregiving support each week to people living with dementia. On Sunday, she was honored for the countless hours she provides specialized care for her husband.
She understands the benefit and the importance of sharing her story, and other people who maybe
aren't in that same place where they can come forward, but that it resonates with them.
My sister has early onset Alzheimer's, and we're all walking with her in support of her.
It's a good cause that we're walking for today, and if find a cure with our donation, that'd be amazing.
Sosa is also sharing some of the struggles following her husband's diagnosis when her family was referred to different day programs.
Every program is designed for someone elderly.
She says the home support or respite care available did not meet her husband's needs.
They're not used to dealing with an active man that still might want to kick a ball, and that's what they're going to do with him, right? So every step along the way has been so eye-opening to me that so much more has to change.
Healthcare options, they're not a fit for people who are younger, and it's really one of the most challenging things, the diagnosis of young onset dementia.
Currently, there are 85,000 people in BC affected by dementia, and that number is expected to increase to 250,000 by 2050. Sosa says she would like to see more emphasis on early diagnosis and dementia training for support staff, and more programs aimed at helping early onset dementia patients and their families. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
Just south of Nanaimo, a group of people are working to preserve a beloved local trail at risk of development. The Cable Bay Trail is about 2 kilometers long. It's a popular place for dog walks and orca spotting, and as Claire Palmer tells us, community members are looking to keep it that way.
It's a busy Sunday at the Cable Bay Trailhead, not unusual for the area. The trail is popular with locals and tourists, but is at risk of being developed.
The trail, for me anyway, it means a lot. It's a place where I walk almost every day. I come here after work just to let everything go. I mean, look at the surrounding. It's ferns, big trees. It leads to the ocean.
Land to the west is owned by Nanaimo Forest Products Limited, who have proposed industrial lots, while land to the east, also privately owned, is eyeing a subdivision. The fight for the trail started in 2007 when a golf resort and spa was proposed, and resumed this past December with the latest proposals.
If you think about losing 400 acres of intact or relatively intact forest in a small community, it's a lot, and people may not even realize what the implications are.
Alcock says that developing the land puts a delicate ecosystem at risk, with endangered plants, old forests, and Gary Oak meadows. It's something the Nanaimo Area Land Trust is also keeping an eye on.
We have so little of this left that the solution really is conservation. And I know that, we have certainly an affordable housing crisis, but we also have a climate crisis and a biodiversity crisis. And this place that is, one of those last large pieces of intact older forest and Gary Oak ecosystems is not the place where we're going to realize affordable housing.
The Land Trust is best known for raising the funds to purchase and turn Mount Benson into a public park. And Chapman says they're open to doing the same for Cable Bay.
This is, again, such an important area where these high conservation priorities and recreation come together. It just seems like a natural place for us to consider something other than, plowing it under.
The trust approached the regional district to explore the ecological importance of the area earlier this month, but at the presentation, city officials expressed concern over the cost of protecting the land. Chapman says the land is a high priority for his organization, and supporters agree. As of Sunday, more than 22,000 people have signed a petition calling for the area to become a park. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Nanaimo.
Well, the Spot Prawn Festival made its return to Vancouver's Fisherman's Wharf today.
Our fishery is one of the most sustainable fisheries in the world. We're ocean-wise recommended, and it's important for us to ensure that spot prawns are available for the future and for future generations and for our future fishermen.
The festival celebrates BC's largest shrimp. The spot prawn season in BC lasts only a few weeks, but is a highlight on the culinary calendar. You can find fresh spot prawns in local BC restaurants and kitchens during the fishing season. The festival is raising money to support education and sustainability initiatives. A long-fought political battle over policing in Surrey might be coming to an end. The mayor not admitting defeat breaks down questions about what she does in her efforts to keep the RCMP. That's next. Now that the courts have sided with the province in the Surrey policing saga, the question is, what's next for Mayor Brenda Locke's mission to keep the RCMP? Chad Possum takes a look.
The losses for Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke continue to mount, with yet another this week over policing. The courts have sided with Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth and upheld provincial legislation to force a police transition in Surrey. Locke's not admitting defeat, but says she's still in the fight to deliver on her 2022 campaign promise to keep taxes low over policing and keep the RCMP.
The tax burden facing Surrey residents is the reason why the majority of the members of this council and I have fought so very hard to put an end to this transition.
That majority is a slim one, just one councillor. So how strong is Brenda Locke's mandate to keep the RCMP? It's something she argues she has from the 2022 election, but a look back tells a different story. The vast majority of eligible Surrey voters did not cast a ballot 2 years ago, with only about 32% of residents going to the polls. In the mayoral race, Locke received 28% of the vote, a narrow 1% more than pro-municipal police force mayor Doug McCallum. There was also a third candidate who split votes. Some say it's a stretch for Locke to emphatically claim Surrey residents want to retain the Mounties.
It's hard to make that claim. I mean, you can make a claim to legitimacy, but can you make a democratic sort of mandate claim that this is something overwhelmingly wanted by people?
Meanwhile, the provincial prognosticators are celebrating the judicial win and appealing to fatigue over the issue in Surrey.
This is obviously a huge relief for the people of Surrey who just want this done. I want this done. Everybody wants this done.
As I said, the people of Surrey want this over. They want the transition moving forward, and that's what's going to happen. And it would be great if the city of Surrey was there.
So, will the city be there? Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke has not yet announced her next move, but with many pressing issues facing the city other than policing, her 19-month fight may be coming to an end. The Surrey Police Service is set to take over from the RCMP officially in November. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Vancouver.
CBC's chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton spoke with BC's Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth about the possibility of Surrey's mayor taking the issue of policing in Surrey to a higher court. Take a listen.
So what do you say to Surrey's mayor? And I gather she is considering, and she and the council are considering whether they take this to a higher court. But as you know, one of her primary arguments now is that this is far too costly. She has pointed to a document that says it'll cost $75 million more than the RCMP, and that she's going to have to raise taxes in Surrey in order to cover the costs of this.
Again, the mayor is just wrong on that front. What she's talking about is a scenario that envisaged 900 Surrey Police Service officers and only 725 RCMP officers. When the plan that is being implemented, which is in fact based on Surrey's own plan over the next 4 years, which is to grow to, I think it's about 825, 835 RCMP officers. The administrator that's in place in terms of the police board, the plan that they're operating on is to have exactly the same number of Surrey Police Service officers. So the only cost issue is that difference between the salary cost of an RCMP officer versus the salary cost of a Surrey Police Service officer. And the contracts have been coming closer and closer together with each contract negotiation. Right. And it's also why the province put forward the $150 million over 5 years to make up that difference, which was estimated about $30 million, and in fact will decrease over time as the contracts come closer and closer together.
Here we have a live shot of Georgia Street past the post. I'll have your full forecast coming up next. All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast. Let's begin with temperatures around the province this evening. 2 degrees is your low in Dease Lake, a lot of precipitation. 7 is your low in Prince George, again with that rain. And moving into tomorrow's forecast, Dease Lake, chances of thunderstorms with a high of 14 for tomorrow. Sun and clouds and a high of 18 in Fort St. John, a high of 22 in Kelowna. Similar situation with a lot of sun and cloud. Victoria, high of 14. And Tofino, you're going to see a little bit more precipitation with a high of 12. And moving into our 5-day forecast here in Metro Vancouver, 15 degrees for tomorrow is our high. That scattered showers is going to stick around for us until about Wednesday, and then it'll clear up for Thursday with a high of 18 and much warmer temperatures heading into next weekend. Did you know Bryan Adams' classic 1984 hit Summer of '69 has roots in the small town northern BC? The song's co-writer Jim Vallance, who would go on to huge success as a songwriter, had a special performance in Vanderhoof this weekend.
I've never been asked to introduce myself before. I'm Jim Vallance, and I'm a songwriter. It's magical. It's when I discovered music. It's when I got my first drum kit, got my first guitar, which brings me back to Vanderhoof today for this lovely reunion. I told my parents I wanted to be a musician, and they were horrified. And I just kept writing songs and joining bands, quitting bands. And then I met Bryan Adams, and he and I started writing. I've written hundreds of songs with Bryan, and it always started the same. 2 guys in a room staring at an empty piece of paper. We decided we would write about our first bands, our first guitars, our first girlfriends, just kind of our youth. I was channeling my days in Vanderhoof. Bryan was channeling his days in his first band. It was called Shock when he was 16. So just together, so our 2 memories kind of combined. But when I hear the song, I just think about Vanderhoof. Wayne Dirksen, my former bandmate, called me almost a year ago, I think, and said, what do you think about a scholarship in your name at your old high school? Cool, that'd be a nice way to kind of give back and acknowledge how grateful I am to have, been here. And we found a couple of really talented people. And this town is just full of, talented kids. They have a display case that they're going to put together, and I said I would donate one of my Junos. But this is the one that sat on my desk for the last 30 or 40 years, so it's my personal Juno. I was a student from a smaller town considering music for a career, so I've been there, done that. So it means a lot to me to maybe, help someone make that decision and go that course. I mean, I'd be delighted if that were to happen.
That is your late news for this Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night.